Welcome, everyone. I'm Carol Laurie, host of the Her Health and Spirit podcast and upcoming summit. And today we're fortunate enough to have Paula Felps with us. Paula believes it is her mission to help others learn how to be happy and to know there's always hope. In 2011, she founded the Sexual Abuse Resource Network, a website dedicated to helping sexual abuse survivors navigate the resources available to them. As a survivor of sexual childhood abuse, she is dedicated to educating her parents. She is dedicated to educating parents and other adults about how to identify potential predators, how to protect and educate their children, and how to enjoy a happy, healthy life despite their childhood abuse. She co-founded the Project Your Kids Network, a clearinghouse to provide information and educational resources to teach parents how to safeguard their children from sexual predators, and is the author of Pedophiles Don't Discriminate, How to Protect Your Child from Sexual Abuse. An award-winning freelance writer, editor, and author, Paula has written about a variety of business and lifestyle topics for magazines, newspapers, and websites for the past 25 years. She is the science editor for Live Happy magazine, where she writes about positive psychology and the science of living a happy life, and is the host of the weekly Live Happy Now podcast. Welcome, Paula.
Thank you so much for having me, Carol. I'm really happy to be talking to you today.
Just yesterday on the news, there was this incident where this young girl was going into the ladies' room at the mall, and a reported sexual registered sex offender motioned to her to come to him. And in that split second, thank goodness, she went into the bathroom, and he was then chased off. But it's happening on a day-to-day basis. So how do we get the word out there more for parents to talk to their children and also for parents to deal with their own childhood abuse issues, and where are the resources for women in this area?
The good thing is there's a lot of resources. That's why we created the Sexual Abuse Resource Network, because there are so many resources that it's almost overwhelming. If you Google child sexual abuse, you're going to get millions of responses. So if I'm a parent who just found out my child is being abused, my needs are very different than if I'm a 35-year-old woman who is just now coming to terms with abuse that happened, 30 years ago. So what we did with the Sexual Abuse Resource Network is categorized what's available. So if you're, if you're an adult who's dealing with your own trauma, if you're an adult who's dealing with your child's trauma, if you're someone who just wants to get more information, and we have books, websites, hotlines, many different ways that they can seek out this information. And I think it's so important that parents educate themselves, because most encounters are not with a stranger. Most childhood sexual abuse occurs at the hands of someone that child knows, loves, and trusts. And that's the big thing for parents to know. We're teaching our kids about stranger danger, but it's usually not the stranger that poses the biggest threat. And part of the problem, if a stranger does something to a child, your child is going to be much more likely to tell you. If it's that favorite uncle, if it's a friend of the family, they're much more afraid to say, this happened to me. And also that friend, you're getting such mixed signals from them, because here's the fun uncle, the guy who takes you to the park and buys you ice cream. Well, now he's doing something that you don't like, but yet he's been so good to you. Is it really wrong? It's for a kid's brain to process it, it's simply too much. So it's up to parents to understand that this is where the threat comes from, and they really have to educate their child in an age-appropriate way. That's what our book, Pedophiles Don't Discriminate, deals with. It's how to educate your child in an age-appropriate way so they're not frightened or traumatized, but they're aware. Just like we give safety drills in schools for tornadoes or fires, we need to make our children aware that if this happens, then you do this.
I have patients in my practice where this happened to them with the uncle, and they were brave enough, this one woman was brave enough to tell her family, and they didn't believe her.
That happens far too often.
I know. And I'm thinking as a parent, like I have a daughter now who's in her 20s, and if this happened to her when she was this girl's age, I think she was like less than 10. I'm thinking to myself, how could you not believe your daughter if she's talking about these sexual events as a 6 or a 7 or an 8-year-old girl? How could you think that she could make something like that up? It's sort of unbelievable to me, the cognitive dissonance and the unwillingness of parents to step forward and not be afraid to make waves to support their safety of their children.
And that's you hit it on the head with that. They know that this is going to uproot the whole system, their whole family, dysfunctional family system, and they don't want to be the one to make the waves. I was not the first in our family to be sexually abused. I was the first to speak up, and as a result, my mom's take was it couldn't have been that bad. It wasn't that it didn't happen. It was that it couldn't have been that bad. And then the relative who was married to one of the men abusing me refused to believe it. And years later, I had a conversation with another relative who had spoken to her and said, why did you not believe Paula? And she said, because I had too much to lose. And I thought, that's it entirely. They're thinking of, if I do this, I uproot my life as I know it.
Yeah, but then you're living a life. Your life is a lie.
Yeah.
And the foundation of your home and everything is toxic and has holes in it. So that's really a shame that people can't step up and be brave enough to risk everything for the truth.
Right. And I think, too, people oftentimes think, oh, this is going to get out. What are the neighbors going to think? What are the church going to think? They get very caught up in how this will appear. So there's a fear there. And again, that's why we're working to take the stigma away, take the shame away, that the child did nothing wrong. And all we have to do is talk about this. And what I am so encouraged by is during my work I see particularly millennials on down who are very forthcoming of saying, when I talk about what we're doing, it's like, yeah, I was sexually abused, or my friend was sexually abused. That we are finally starting to talk about it, but it needs to become a broader conversation.
Well, I think the first thing people should be concerned about is the victim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not like, what are other people going to think? It's like,
right.
How is the victim?
Yeah.
How did this happen? So, Paula, just once again, let people know how they can find you and all the beautiful work that you're doing.
Well, the biggest things easiest way to find us is on Facebook. We've got the Sexual Abuse Resource Network, and that's a great place. We've got a community of over 2,000 people there that you can connect with, and we post news and information, and you can also download our guide to sexual abuse resources there. We got the Protect Your Kids page, which is a closed group, but we're happy to have anyone join. And then we also have Pedophiles Don't Discriminate, How to Protect Your Kids from Sexual Abuse. And through that, you can get the book. I think as a bonus, we're going to offer everyone a free download of that book. It's a 32-page book, gives great tips for whatever age your child is, whatever stage you're at. If you just want to know how to open this conversation, even if you're not a parent and you want to know what to look for in the children around you, it's a wonderful resource.
I'd just like to add that if you're a mom or a dad and you feel like there's something going on with your child, I encourage people to download this book and really have a serious conversation with your child and make it in an environment where they feel it's totally fine for them to reveal if there's anything inappropriate. It's much more important to have this conversation and be wrong than not follow your intuition and let the abuse continue over the years.
True.
So thank you so much, Paula, for your time and all of your wisdom and the work you do, so important for helping women overcome childhood abuse. And this is Carol Laurie for her Health and Spirit Summit, signing off for now, and there'll be much more later, so please stay tuned and have a wonderful day, everyone.